Hello everyone and welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name's Michael and I'm bitten by a radioactive book. Now grab your pitchfork, yell REVOLUTION and follow me into the second part of our steampunk guide. This one is about social upheaval. At first I'm going to give you a quick little historical context of the theme of social upheaval in steampunk literature. Then I'm going to try to connect it to you, the reader of 2014, and say where this theme can be found in our world, so how it relates to you personally and what the genre is able to provide to us as modern readers. And at the end I'm going to give you a few recommendations where to start when you want to read some steampunk novels which involve the themes of social upheaval. So let's get started. To understand the theme of social upheaval in the historical context, we have to take a look back at what leadership meant. Leadership, as in kings and monarchy, was given actually by the church. Most of the kings claimed to be representatives of God, and so the legibility of their reign came from the churches. So they had to be crowned, for example, by the church. And now with people like Charles Darwin, for example, coming up and questioning the whole creation, the legibility of the reign of the kings wasn't a sure thing anymore. So the people were started to think about, okay, if there might not be a God, so why would we accept a ruler who claims his legibility by being enthroned by God and the church? That is one aspect of the social upheaval you had there. The second one is, of course, industrialization. Industrialization meant that mostly people who had been farmers before or lived in small villages came to towns to work there in factories. So you had a growth of people flooding the cities, and the cities weren't really able to hold all the people. So a lot of poverty arose back then, and the people were very unhappy, of course, in this living conditions. A third thing that occurred is that the education of the masses could be done easier. With inventions like the printing press, people got access to books that normally wouldn't have that access. More people had the opportunity to get literate. And by being flocked together in the cities, there were more opportunities for speakers to educate the masses. Many monarchies were overthrown, like in France, or had at least to adjust to and answer to a body by of the people, like a government or a parliament. I think this is one of the more easy themes that you can see is still very important. It happens all around us at the moment. If you look into the whole 99% and 1% debate, there is a lot of social unrest, there's a lot of poverty still around. The chasm of rich people and poor people seems to grow. At the moment we have unrest in the US, we had unrest in Greece and in Italy, and these are like the Western countries where this is becoming a problem. We have another unrest in the countries in Northern Africa, where you can see that the people are not happy with their leadership anymore, and the people are getting upset and trying to change something, and now these countries are in the process of actually deciding what their way will be. And I think as a Western society we should make very sure to treat them well and as equals, and not just assume that, yeah, someday they will just have the same way we went, because we don't know what will happen. Maybe they are going to find a way where religion and politics actually can stay in the state and didn't have to be separated like ours. So we don't know what's going to happen there. And so you see, this theme of social upheaval is actually all around us. It afflicts us every day when you look into the newspaper. So steampunk actually gives us a look back into our own past, reminds us of our own past and how social upheaval was handled in the Western countries, and also reminds us of the problems we're still having. The first book I like to recommend is The Strange Affair of Spring Heel Jack by Mark Hodder. The social upheaval aspect there is a bit more subtle, but it shows something I talked about earlier. Because the display of poverty in this novel is really done well. Sir Richard Francis Burton, the main character, has to go to poorer districts of London quite often to investigate the strange affair of Spring Heel Jack. And we see in this book that he can't do it like on his own. He has to go there in disguise, because if he wouldn't use a disguise, he would be mugged and maybe killed, because these districts weren't really safe to go there. And the display of how dangerous it actually was, how poor the people really were, is done really, really well in The Strange Affair of Spring Heel Jack. This book has so many other merits. I personally rated it 5 stars, but this is the social upheaval aspect of the book. Later on, we're seeing a bit more social upheaval that relates actually to ideology. We have a faction of technocrats, we have some liberals calling themselves rakes, and so we're going to see some of those revolutionary movements there as well in the later parts of the novel. So overall, this is an amazing read, and I'm sure to continue with the whole series. The 5th book just came out, I think last month, so this is a very good starting point. The second book I like to talk about is Boneshaker by Cherry Priest. Here we are seeing the social upheaval theme in a kind of microcosmos, because the book plays in a really small area, the area around Seattle, and Seattle is a town walled in because there was some kind of accident with a machine, the Boneshaker, and so some gas came out of the earth and turned people into zombies, and those zombies had to be walled in, but some people still remained in the city, and there is like a small government structure, more in that there is a maybe fanatical and feared leader, and over the course of the book we're seeing changes, of course, and that this leadership is put into question. So we have this element of social upheaval, but on a really, really small scale, but it is still there. I personally had some other issues with the book. I wasn't that fond of the ending, for example, so I only rated it 3 out of 5 stars. But in terms of having this small-scale look at social upheaval, it's a recommended read, and I definitely would encourage you to pick it up. We were going to see this next week again in the gender equality episode, because this plays a very large role, and it might be even more worth reading it for that quality than for the social upheaval one, but I wanted to put it in here because there is this subtle underlying theme there as well. My third recommendation would be The Heart of Veridon. The Heart of Veridon is a steampunk novel that is not set in our world, it's set in a secondary world, and it has the most parallel to the cyberpunk genre, because the hero of the book here comes into the possession of an artifact, and this artifact is able to change his society, maybe question the leadership and the structure, and it's a very action-packed novel, because he is of course chased by people who want to get to this artifact or to this device, and he has to try to keep it and has to decide what to do with it. So even though it doesn't really play in our world, this theme of social upheaval is here represented in the kind of opportunity the character has, and the ultimate decision is he going to use it, is he going to change his society or not. So this is a very interesting aspect of the social upheaval theme, and I think I rated it 4 stars. It was a very entertaining read, so if you don't are that comfortable maybe with going into the Victorian era, but want to have a steampunk journey anyway, maybe in a secondary world, because you're more of a fantasy reader, this is a great place to start for this. And last but definitely not least, one of the best choices for the theme of social upheaval is actually The Bookman by Lavi Tithar, the first installment in the Bookman Chronicles. Here, the author does a really great trick, because he sends the explorer Vespucci, this is nothing that happens really in the story, that is just background, to explore America, and he finds an island. On this island he finds like lizard man, living, breathing, talking lizard man, and he takes this lizard man back to the United Kingdom, and it turns out that these lizard men may or may not be aliens, but at least have access to technology, and with this technology they became the actual royalty of the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom is ruled by aliens, and you can really, I think, already see what I'm hinting at. What the author did here was he alienated the ruling body of the country from its people. So it's actually kind of a metaphor that all the rulers are some kind of alien lizard man, because Lavi Tithar wants to show how alienated actually the leadership is from the masses. And although the story is a very character-driven story about a boy who loses his girlfriend because she dies, and then the girlfriend is brought back mysteriously, and he tries to figure out how this happened and why this happened. This is the main focus of the plot, but in the background there's a revolution actually going on, because the masses are trying to rise up against this alien leadership they have, and the Bookman is maybe the best example you can get at the moment for the theme of social upheaval within steampunk. That's it for today, for the first part. I'm trying to do this like every week now, I think every Thursday. And next week we're going to look into the theme of gender equality. I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you liked this little glimpse into the world of steampunk. If you did, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me, and I hope you get bitten by a really good book too. Bye bye, until next time.